Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
Hi, how are you?
Now, Sarah, a mother who was living with her child in a flat where human excrement was dripping through her ceiling has begun a housing protest outside of Cork City Hall. That sounds awful.
Yeah, now you might recall this story from a good couple of months back now. Alina Marinescu, she's 36, and she had been living in a flat where, as you said, feces and urine dripped down the walls and seeped through the ceiling. Now, these were really, really Dickensian conditions.
Yeah,
we're talking about unbelievably so. So there was plumbing problems, and Alina and her child were actually washing from a bowl in the kitchen, and she said she was allegedly urinating in a bucket and had to dispose of the feces in plastic bags. I didn't know anybody.
Had she no bathroom?
There were people seeing it. It just says plumbing issues there. So
right, okay.
whatever happened at the time, but it's months later now. She eventually was forced out of the home because there was a hole in the ceiling, so it was.
Right.
They were absolutely impossible living conditions. She was pregnant with twins at the time, so can you imagine the hygiene implications there at play. So months later, now she's living in emergency accommodation, it looks like, and she's begun a housing protest outside Cork City Hall. So she was saying that she doesn't understand the system here, and this is by an article by Liz Dumphy in the Irish Examiner. She said she just wants somewhere to rent that is safe for my family, where she can keep her dog. That must be a factor. I'd say it's very hard to find a place.
It is, yeah. I was going to say that is a factor. Yeah, that's clearly a factor there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are some people that dog is like a member of the family, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming, has she had the babies yet? Because you said she was pregnant at the time.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned that. So she has the twins now, so she's even more to deal with on her hands.
Right.
And so she was saying that I think there was an offer of an apartment close to the old apartment that she had, but one of the factors that forced her out of her home made things even worse was she had reported a neighbour. So I think this was due to alleged intimidating behaviour. So that's
so she kind of rejected. She's rejected that.
Yeah,
so she's rejected that one, obviously, and she's waiting for something else, maybe.
Yeah. So she's hoping that the council will help her get a home, but yeah, it's an interesting update because
sadly, and she certainly would be priority having two little babies as well, and I think she has another child too, doesn't she, as well? So exactly. So her son, actually, his school had expressed horror with the child's living conditions a couple of months ago, and they wrote a letter just trying to support the family and trying to galvanise the authorities into action, I suppose. Yeah.
I think there might have been a letter from a medical professional as well, just reiterating how dangerous it is to be living in these conditions when you are pregnant with twins. Yeah, she was pregnant at the time. Yeah.
Of course. Well, look, another story here as well is interesting. Authorities have been urged to deal with a so-called ghost ship that has blighted the East Coast. This is washed up during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I actually remember this story because I remember Cork authorities telling people not to be going near it because people were suggesting we could go on a little tour of it or whatever it was, because obviously it's quite old and probably not very safe. So is it still there?
It absolutely is. So consultants were paid more than $36,000 in 2022 to carry out this health and safety assessment of the wreck.
How much?
The MD Malta.
How much?
You heard right. 36,000.
36,000 just to have a look at it and decide whether you believe it's safe or not.
It gets worse. So this was washed onto rocks near Ballycotton in East Cork after Storm Dennis struck Ireland. That was in February 2020, and so says Padraig Hoare in the Irish Examiner. So it became a magnet for antisocial behaviour. There was fires. There was all kinds of things. So this is a ship built in 1976, and it had originally been on course from Greece to Haiti and the Caribbean in October 2018, and the engines failed in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean while the US Coast Guard rescued the crew more than 2,000 kilometres off Bermuda, I think it was. The ship was abandoned, drifting all the way here to the Cork coast.
Right.
And since then, authorities have struggled to deal with the remnants of the ghost ships because its owners can't be identified. What can you do? And
just destroy it.
Yeah, wait. It sounds like you're going to take matters into your own hands. Don't. It says a multi-million euro bill will apply for its removal.
But just stop. How big is it?
I don't know. It must be pretty big.
Like, is it like a trawler, or is it like a big, huge container boat, like for oil, or like what is it? Is it just
it's described
one
as
thing?
A cargo vessel.
Right. Okay.
And it's actually split. So in January of last year, there was a near miss incident involving the MV Alta and a massive oil tanker. So that was what occurred, and it's here now, and we don't know what to do with it. But it's become nearly a day out for people. People would say, "Will we go see this ghost ship?" The name, I think, just.
Yeah, let's be clear. Nobody died. Why are they calling it a ghost ship? Nobody's died on it.
It sounds more exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're waiting to see Blackbeard come off. Ahoy there, me mateys. I'm Blackbeard, the ghost of the ship of Cork. That's what you're kind of expecting.
You could come see it in September when you're down with Karen. That would be something a fun birthday way to spend your birthday, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't expect to see Blackbeard or Jack Sparrow on it or anything like that. But I mean, anyway. Also,
we could get people to dress up. I know you want to move on, but that would be a good kind of tourist thing, wouldn't it?
We could all dress up. Who could you be? I could be Jack Sparrow. You could be Blackbeard.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to be Blackbeard. Yeah,
but you'd have to get the accent right. Ahoy there, me mateys. Yeah,
I'll work in that.
Give it a go.
Yeah. It's like in when you're small and they're playing games. I used to always get we used to play the turtle, what are they called? The Ninja Mutant.
Ninja Mutant or Hero Turtles.
Yeah, and I'd always have to be... what's the one? I don't know. They used to always just give me one of the turtles, and then the better looking one would get to be April. Anyway,
so you were like Donatello or something like that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But give it just before we move to the next story, because I'm just going to embarrass you now. I'm going to keep saying it.
Don't get me to do an impression.
No, I'm just saying,
no.
Ahoy there, me mateys.
No.
Okay.
I want to get paid loads of money for it to come on the show to do. So go on.
Okay. More than you're actually paid at the moment. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, that wouldn't be a lot. A Cork teenager has opened up about the Echo article that led to her adoption 19 years ago as part of an emotional reunion with the charity founder who made it all possible. Now, I've had those emotional reunions many, many years ago when I met my own biological mother. But tell us a little bit of this story.
Yeah, who would have thought that a little article in the Echo could lead to an adoption and a whole completely different life for someone. So this is a Cork teenager anyway. This student, she's a college student. Amy Keneally is her name, and she lost her adopted mother Margaret there just over a year ago. So Amy's father Jack spoke about how Margaret had known she wanted to adopt from the age of 12 years old. Would you believe that she was actually basically told in a dream that she would rescue a child, and that's what got it into her head. She had this dream when she was 12 and it never left her. She never told anyone. So this was an Echo article published on March 25th, 2003 that that made her realise that this was the right time. It featured Fiona Corcoran from the Greater Chernobyl Cause, and that set the process in motion. So Margaret was really moved by the piece. It highlighted Amy's home in Kazakhstan, and she wanted to help immediately. So the area where Amy was, the baby home where she was living, it had been the site of Russian nuclear weapon testing for 40 years, and it was one of few locations, would you believe, where the death rate actually exceeded the birth rate. Isn't that
That's
grim?
incredible, yes.
Yeah. So the first thing Margaret did after reading the piece was pack a bag with clothes and dolls for children in the orphanage, and she somehow felt connected to the babies and decided it was the right time to adopt. So her husband Jack said it was an option they had been discussing for decades, and the couple already had 4 children, Shane, Andrew, Colm and Niamh. So that desire to rescue a child only strengthened with age. Margaret was 51 and Jack was 55, and they were already grandparents to 2 grandchildren. So, but nothing was going to deter them from the school. So the reason they didn't adopt earlier on was because it wouldn't have been financially possible to do so. They just had so much happening, and Fiona actually described her first encounter with Margaret. So that would be Amy's adopted mum. So she said there was this woman had called to the office, and when she asked for a description of the woman, all they could tell her was, "Oh, it was this woman, and she was carrying a handbag."
Carrying a handbag. Let's find a woman in the world that's carrying a handbag. Okay, that narrows it down.
Yeah. So she remembered really hoping that this woman would call back because she sensed that this was something important, and she returned an hour later and said that she wanted to adopt a child, and it had already been discussed with her husband. And not long after that, the director of that same orphanage presented Fiona with a 4-month-old baby, asking if she could, quote unquote, get her out of there. So his fear was that her medical situation, Amy has spina bifida, so he was afraid that this would scupper her chances of survival in the system. So babies at the facility, which is supported by the charity The Greater Chernobyl Cause, they face a transition as children to Iaga orphanage, or Iaga. The building was referred to in those days as a living hell. It had outdoor toilet facilities and temperatures plummeting to below minus 40 degrees due to this terrible heating system. And Amy also required medical treatment, and she just basically wouldn't have survived. So the director was basically saying to Fiona, "Can you save her?" And little did he know that she had found her a family already.
Wow.
And she remembers holding this baby in her hands, and the director saying that she was very special, and he knew that she'd have a chance if they could just get her out of there. So
that's incredible.
The parents actually had a picture of Amy, and they kept it on the bedroom mirror. So it took a few months, of course, before she arrived there. But her dad was saying that it got to a stage where he was looking at the photograph so much that he could hear Amy's voice, even though she's a baby. She wasn't talking yet, but he was saying, he used to hear her saying, what's taking you so long? What's keeping you? And
it's
then
a lovely story, isn't it? It's an incredible story. I love reunion
Yeah.
stories like that, and there's so many of them, of course, particularly here in Ireland as well. We've had so many people were put up for adoption, and we hear reunion stories all the time, and some can be good, some can be not so good, but most of them are nice stories. Anyway, a historical piece published in The Echo this week highlighting the measures people were forced to take during this horrendous time of the emergency that included cutting the toes from their children's shoes and calling them sandals. I think, by the way the cost of living crisis is going at the moment, we'll be forced to do that again.
I know. I was thinking this could actually double up as some budget tips for us, tips for people like me on a budget.
Well, you don't have to buy them shoes at all. You could just paint laces on their feet. and just pretend they're shoes.
Oh, well, you've got the right idea now, and I'll tell you why. Because that one of the measures was they would actually paint the seams of the tights at the back of the legs, so it would seem. Remember when those nylons are really popular at the time, and so to give the illusion of nylons, they would actually paint them at the back of their legs. So you've been through this before, obviously. Have you? Have you been through this?
No, I haven't been through this before.
How old are you now?
We were poor when I was young, but we weren't that poor.
So you weren't around the time of the emergency anyway, were you?
No, I'm not that old. No, I'm not that old, Sarah. Not yet. Getting there.
Yeah. So he was talking about how its people responded with resilience and this self-sufficiency born out of adversity and need. That was Ray Ryan talking in the Echo. So I'll tell you some of the measures, will I? That people used to take. So. If this one makes me feel really bad because it said if heels were worn, they send them to the cobbler. But I send my shoes to the cobbler all the time. So
that's a kind of dying trade, isn't it? Because shoes are just disposable now, so it's a kind of dying trade.
Oh God, my shoes! I've had the same shoes for so long. I always get them rehealed. So but I think if you got a good pair of shoes, hold on to them because they're so hard.
I do
to find.
that all the time. I wear my shoes. I wear the same shoes all the time, right? And then I buy another. When they wear out, I buy another pair. Now I do have a spare pair, obviously, and I have a good pair then for suits and stuff like that. But I'm not one of these people who just wears a different pair of shoes every day or something like that. Couldn't be arsed doing stuff like that. Oh, did I say the word arse? There you go, I did. I couldn't be arsed doing something like that. I think people nowadays have just become disposable when it comes to shoes, and so the dying trade certainly is things like a cobblers or a seamstress or those kind of trades.
Yeah, so maybe it's time we went back to basics. So the emergency, that was from 1939 to 1945, I believe, right? So at the time, men sharpened razor blades with edging stones. Are you taking notes? I hope you are.
Yeah, I am taking notes.
Bread soda instead of toothpaste. They polished shoes with black soot from the fireplace. And this one's for Karen. So women use beetroot juice for lipstick. Good, you can give her that tip when you get home now.
I don't think she's going to do that. I wouldn't like to kiss. Imagine kissing somebody with a taste of beetroot juice off their lips.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, there'd have to be no kissing involved.
No.
And so they were drawing fake seams with eyebrow pencils. And that was on the back of their legs. And there's something else as well. Did I tell you about the pillowcases? Did I say about the pillowcases?
No, you didn't say about the pillowcases.
And they made blouses from their daughters from pillowcases and turned flower bags into tablecloths. Were flower bags at the time really huge or something?
Yeah, but they were. Yeah, but large. You would have had a large, which is like a sack muslin type material. Like a sack. Flour would have been in sacks.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah,
things
that
didn't
makes
come.
sense.
See, people don't understand. Things didn't really come in paper or paper bags or tins or. Well, tins have been around for a good while, but you know what I mean. Paper wasn't a thing. Plastics weren't a thing really.
Yeah, and everything came. Everything's so much smaller now.
Yeah, drinks all came in bottles.
Yeah, that's true, and we blame the previous generation for our problems, and they were really so sustainable, weren't they?
Yeah, there's now a whole train of thought that we should go back to using bottles again rather than plastics. So we should go back to refilling bottles. In other words, you buy your lemonade and your Coke and everything else and your milk, and you get it in bottles, and then you bring the bottles back, and that's what we used to do when I was a kid. My mum would give me all the Canton and Cork or whatever TK bottles. I'd bring them over the shop, and you got like a penny back for every bottle you brought back. So I'd be making out like a bandit. I had 10 pence if I had 10 bottles, so I could buy a packet of crisps and an ice pop.
Yeah, I do remember there being big bags of cans, and you get like £1 for every
we didn't have cans.
Every big bag.
We didn't have cans.
Yeah.
That was your generation. That's your generation.
Yeah.
Bottles.
But yeah.
But it was hard. I can imagine it was hard times. You know what I mean? And people wore the same clothes all the time. They'd have their Sunday clothes, and then they'd have their daily clothes, and that was it. They probably just had one set of clothes. You know what I mean? That they wore.
Yeah.
We don't know how lucky we do. I mean, people. I know we talk about the cost of living crisis, right? But people don't realise how lucky they actually are when you think, no, I shouldn't say that because that sounds bad when I say it like that. But we are reasonably lucky. Like, we've all these extra bills like mobile phones, internet, Netflix, all these kind of things. None of that was around, obviously, at the time. And yet we still didn't have enough money. So like, people are nowadays, we have a much better lifestyle.
Yeah, I didn't think of all the extra bills, but it's crazy when you think that we can't survive on 2 incomes now, when before there was only one.
Yeah, there was only one, and we had money to spare, probably, if you had a decent income, if you go back 30 years ago, and we had none of the bills that you have now. I mean, there's about at least 5 or 6 extra bills. I mean, your average parent has to pay, like, for 2 teenagers' phone bills as well. We never had that when we were, my parents paid for nothing that I had when I was 15. I was working in a part-time job when I was 15, 16 years of age.
So all we have to do is get rid of our Netflix and our televisions and start making blouses out of
or sell our children.
Pillowcases.
Or sell the children. Yeah, sell the children.
And soda, what do we say, soda bread? I can't remember.
Soda bread for brushing your teeth. Was this our soda powder, whatever, for brushing your teeth? And
a timber tea chest was another trick they had. You turn it into a playpen.
That's right, yeah.
With a worn rubber bicycle tire packed to the rim. I can't read anymore. This is
right, it is. Right, well, listen, but just before we go, Sarah, and it's been wonderful talking to you once again. And you know the way you're like, we're good buddies now at this stage, and you'd kind of do anything for me and I'd do anything for you. And so, ahoy there, me mateys.
Ahoy, pirates. That's what we'll say. That's what we'll say. That'll be like your new catchphrase when you're starting the show. You go, "Hell, ahoy, pirates!"
Like that. Land lovers.
That's how we'll start every show. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to all get to yourself and Karen. We're going down to that ghost ship and we're getting dressed up. You can be Blackbeard. I'll be Jack Sparrow. I don't know what Karen will be.
Yeah, it's going to be great for the Cork tourist industry. I'm telling you, we have all these ideas.
And we can bring them on little tours. We can bring them on little tours, like, I don't know, 10 each. We bring them on a tour and we'll tell them the whole history. We'll make up a history. It won't be real.
We'll just make it up.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. This boat is 500 years old. Be careful. The timbers are creaking.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So hopefully they don't they don't get it removed anytime soon.
And you say, like, be careful or you might hear the sound of the ghost of Captain Pugwash.
Captain Pugwash. Yeah, how do we get to talking about pirates and Captain Pugwash?
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. I shall talk to you next week. It's been wonderful as usual. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
Real people, real opinions. Real Talk Radio, the multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
McCarthy Insurance Group, serving the community for over 70 years. For home, farm, motor, life, health and business insurance, log on to mig.ie or free phone 1800 50 11 11. Probably your best call in 2024. Charles McCarthy Insurance is trading as McCarthy Insurance Group, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.